So just down here for a meeting at Rush Creek with the councils who are supposed to be down here soon, and Lloyd Russell, the Liberal Democrat, Senate representative. So just having a look through the infestations that I've filmed a couple of times as they've gone through at different times of the year to get some sort of an idea of the expansion rates and the way the vines are taking over the Lantana. They're drowning out the Lantana and other plants in the same takeover. The Lantana doesn't die underneath it, just continues on in the same issues. But it's interesting to walk through these areas and see levels of the infestations on these hillsides. It's always an issue when you see watercourses so choked with these materials, and the fact that the seeds float creates such a big problem. So I was considering, see, they've been there a long time. The size of those Lantana stems are a very big plant. So wild tobacco. So I was considering having a look at joining a couple of the committees in response to how bad things are, because there's no voice on those committees that's of any sort of reason to actually do anything about these issues. So I think it's probably the best thing to have a look at trying to become a part of that, see if you can make changes from inside those systems. Wow. That's an incredible increase from when I filmed it 12 months ago. Staggering, the levels of increase. But it doesn't say much for anything being done, because every entity is saying, well, it's not their problem and they're not responsible. It's, you know, 3 different entities have, you know, interests in a particular area. So at the end of the day, none of them do anything, and it just increases and increases and takes over more lands while propagating downstream. It's incredible. But, you know, that's what we're after, is to try and get some sensibility and the funding to take care of these issues. Just amazing. It really makes you wonder what the future is if you can't get them to you know, act within the legal limits of the law. Then what point is there ever going to be any chance that any of these environments or ecosystems are, you know, going to be there in the future and aren't just swallowed up by these materials and destroyed? Surely the amount of movement via the water makes a good reason to deal with these weeds, rather than the continuous saying, well, it's not our problem, we're not spending any money on it, when it is their problem, and they are paid to spend money on it. They're paid to do it. So it's only through lobbying the government that there's ever going to be any change, and forcing the national parks and the main roads and all these entities to deal with these issues. It's the only way we've got any chance of there being a different outcome to these materials taking over these lands, and the displacement of all the animals within those areas. I would have thought that you wouldn't have to, you know, push a point where waterways are the actual focal point, given the importance of waterways. But when you look at national parks, makes up 5% of the state of Queensland, and roads makes up 4%. Gives you some sort of an idea of the catastrophic effects that roadside weeds have on Australian environment and habitat. What makes that even more confronting is that these materials are automatically then dumped into drainage systems, which become waterways and become creeks and then become riparian areas all the way to the bay or to the sea. So you would think at some level people would have put it together to go, it's a very important process to stop these materials from tracking down watercourses while being fed water off the sides of the roads. It's a major issue, and yet nobody within those organisations, the biosecurity and the councils and all of these entities, has ever put that together, and it becomes a very big problem. But anyway, that's the problem we face and the journey we've taken on to try and get effective change to happen. Thanks for joining me. I'm Gary from Lantana Removal Queensland.com.au 0449 986 880, and thanks for coming along. I'll let you know how it works out. Bye bye. Everybody, here we are out in the wild blue yonder of Moreton Bay Regional Council areas, looking at all the castor oil plant, highly toxic, and all the other weeds growing up the embankments here in massive infestations. It's one of the biggest problems that when you're dealing with councils who have no moral content, no moral conduct, you have these sorts of issues. And the ridiculous part of it is that at all levels, all of these things started off at manageable levels, and then they claim that they can't do anything with it because it's too big a problem. But it got to be a problem that big. So let's just go for a little walk and have a little chat, eh?